I'm Jack with FOFANews, and I'm here to talk about the repeal of the Roadless Rule. This is not going to be a fun conversation, and Trump's USDA may have just collapsed a large portion of our environmental future. So, as you will see over my shoulder here, this is not a scene from Day After Tomorrow or Geostorm or whatever other climate disaster movie you've recently watched. This is the southeastern area of Australia in 2020. It is burning, as you can tell, like a fucking barbecue. And that barbecue cooked 3 billion animals, roasted the skies black, and made koalas homeless and jobless. And that takes some real effort when the entire job of a koala is to sleep in a tree, have chlamydia, and eat leaves. And guess what? We're next. Trump's USDA repealing this is saying to us in a very everyman sense, you know what this country needs? More logging roads into our pristine forests that we only recently started protecting in earnest. They're paving the way, literally, to our own smokehouse of doom.
Toxic love.
Is insane. That policy was Clinton's way of telling everyone, hey, maybe don't chainsaw your way through the last 59 million acres of wilderness, you chuckle fucks. But nope, now those forests are open for logging roads, strip mining, responsible development. I don't know what that means, but I'm seeing a lot of Walmart parking lots in the future. They say this is for consistency. Consistent with what? Mad Max? The plot of Fern Gully? A goddamn Michael Bay climate porno? They're not managing forests. They're foreclosing on nature and, by extension, our future itself. What is this area? What does this tell you? What just happened? Well, this thing was put in place by Clinton, as I said. Bush administration carved out an exception to Alaska, setting precedent for what we are seeing now. The great and wonderful Obama almost did exactly what Trump is doing right now and repealed it entirely in 2009. He faced legal troubles and it didn't end up being finalized, but he almost did the same exact thing. And now with these millions of acres being open for logging, what does it tell us? Well, let me ask you, when you're coughing up smoke or your kid is reaching for his inhaler that is running out because he's had to use it so often, who's the person getting rich? It's not the fireman, it's not the forest ranger, it's not you, it's not me, and it's not the fucking deer. It's the timber tycoons and the mining barons and every parasite lobbyist who reserves a $10,000 dinner at Mar-a-fucking-Lago. American Forestry and Paper Association, the National Alliance of Forest Owners. Forest owners, what a fucking term. The Society of American Foresters all submitted comment letters urging the repeal of this USDA policy. In 2024, PACs gave over $1.7 million to key agricultural committee members. The CEO of Weyerhaeuser, one of the largest timber companies, claimed that this rollback harmonizes forest health and logging. A talking point you can mockingly think about in your mindset. Where in strip mining are forests is there harmony with nature and health? It doesn't exist. In 2020, Australia's conservative asshats cut the koala protection rights before these fire seasons. They slashed the number of feed trees from 123 to 10. And they were drunk like they were and playing Jenga with a fucking ecosystem. Then came the fires. Boom. 25% of all koala habitat in the world is now gone. The World Wildlife Federation says over 61,000 koalas were fried like Colonel Sanders made his way to New South Wales and decided chicken just wasn't for him anymore. Tragic, fluffy, packed with chlamydia filling. The leaders said, don't worry, the forests will grow back. Meanwhile, ecologists are screaming, it's going to take 45 goddamn years for it to even break even. And now, we're doing the exact same thing. Particular head of New South Wales and her deputy minister, Gladys Berejiklian and John Barilaro, were partly responsible, if not directly responsible, for a lot of this issue. They diverted and used pork barreling to move a lot of funds that were directly responsible for fighting these fires in these bush areas. They directly lied to constituencies to reinforce that they were going to fight fires in a more efficient way, when in reality they were giving the money to their buddies. Sound familiar? Well, we have a similar situation like that here. Now, I haven't been able to dig yet and figure out exactly who in Trump's portfolio is benefiting from this direct, but we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that somebody approached him or one of his stooges and set this up and pushed for this, because this is an idea that nobody like Trump would have ever thought about. It's not something he would have ever even considered without somebody bringing it before his eyes. These are things that we are going to have to follow. We were unable to follow some of this in Australia because John Barilaro resigned and used an ancient law to basically hide his wrongdoing from being able to be submitted to the court in discovery and all these other things. I have a sneaking suspicion we're going to have some of those issues here as well, but we have some freedom of information requests and things like that that we can attempt to do to try and figure out who is going to be benefiting from cutting down 59 million acres of our last pristine forests. The USDA claims removing the Roadless Rule will prevent wildfires. Right. And shaving your head prevents colon tumors. The real scientists, the environmentalists in the field, are saying that logging doesn't reduce fires. It actually makes the risk worse. Because when you chop down a fuckload of trees out of a forest, you dry it out. You scatter fuel all over the forest floor. You open it to invasive species and weeds and fire-prone trash plants. It's like saying, I'll prevent a kitchen fire by pouring gasoline on a stove and throwing a raccoon at it. They call it sustainability. I call it bullshit in a fucking Hugo Boss suit jacket over a flannel shirt. The peer-reviewed studies by Donato et al. And McIver and Otmar found that post-fire logging increases surface fuel loads. Pre-fire fuel loads are also an issue when I'm looking at this from a different study in the McIver study, that pre-fire logging will result in an excess water loss of about 10 to 12%. Logging and thinning can actually increase fire severity for decades. And that's what the ecologist Dr. Z of Griffith University said. We have seen this before. We have seen the mass logging campaigns in certain areas of the Pacific Northwest, the Yukon, Canada, back before environmental protections were put in place and the fires that resulted therein. Now, they weren't as bad as they could have been because they were not at the height of where we're facing now in the global warming cycles, that we are seeing drier forests, drier years overall, multi-year long droughts, aridification of areas. When I look at this, the Heritage Foundation talking heads versus any kind of environmental scientist is going to be one side. To anybody who knows science, the scientist is going to win every time. To anybody who is unfamiliar with deep environmental science impacts, charismatic, smooth-talking lawyers from places like the Heritage Foundation and FedSoc are very efficient at making people think that this is a good thing and think that this will actually make them safe. They're being sold a lot. At least with the scientists, you are being handed a paper and saying, here's my research, prove me wrong. I'm giving you all of my data. Here is my claim. Here is my evidence. These Heritage Foundation people don't do that. The maggots don't do that. What does this say for us? Well, when we look at NOAA from 1980 to 2024, there were 403 massive disasters that NOAA tracked. In this time period, that took up $2.8 trillion in damages, according to a CPI adjusted estimate. In 2024, there were 27 disasters alone at a cost of $182.7 billion. Well, when we look through more studies, we then see that these projections are even more of a problem. I mean, honestly, think about this. At $2.8 trillion over that time period, that is enough money to feed every human being on the planet filet mignon 3 meals a day, every day. Let that sink into you. I don't even care if you like fucking steak. Just put that concept into your brain. I am going and buying top choice or prime filet mignon for multiple millions and billions of people every day for 5 years. Think about that. That's just the past. Well, let's look at the projections. By 2050, it could be as much as 3.1 trillion per year that we are facing in environmental disaster relief. Let that sink in. That original number covered 44 years, 2.8 trillion. In 25 years from now, we could be facing 300 billion a year more every single year than that total for 44 years. And who's footing that bill? It's not ExxonMobil. It's not the guy who's selling bushmeat to the last remaining McDowells in Tanzania. It's you, it's me. It's a single mom evacuating with 3 kids. It's going to be the old man who has a heart attack shoveling ash off of his driveway like it's snow. Every time a town floods, every time a fire roars, or your homeowner's insurance premium triples, you're subsidizing this. You are subsidizing the CEOs and the politicians who are lighting this match today. Every time somebody dies, that blood will be on their hands in a preventable disaster like these. So what do we stand to lose? Well, most people, when they think about forest fires, they think about the property damage. Because it's what we've been trained to think about in this country. Oh, what about the houses? What about the cars? Oh my God, all of their stuff was destroyed. Yeah, that's horrible. Don't get me wrong. This is not me trying to diminish the issues that this goes through. But there's more important things in the grand scheme of things when you start thinking about this at a population scale. This is not just about the forests. This is about meaning and memory and survival. These are the last places where certain wild things still breathe. If you log them, if you pave them over, if you sell them for scrap, you kill more than the trees. You kill ideals of nature. You potentially kill endangered species, like the grizzly bear, which has been recovered to contested, but was heavily endangered and is still endangered in the northern Rockies, to the Itonia rosemary, which is in the mint family and is endemic to 2/3 of Florida sites, to the spotted owl, to the marble murrelet, to the red cockled woodpecker. These things all could be gone. Condors, species that will never come again and that will have been directly killed off by anthropogenic climate change and humans mistreating the environment around us. You make a world where kids know bears from cartoons and forests from old YouTube videos. A nation of plastic lawns and air purifiers where nobody remembers what silence in the trees sounds like. Do you want to be the generation that paved Eden to build a goddamn strip mine? Because that's what Trump is proposing with this. The sad part is I'm only being slightly hyperbolic. Is Trump actually going to pave over all 59 million acres in the next 3.5 years? Probably not. Could his corporations even do that in the next 3.5 years? Probably not. The reality is, in these next 3.5 years, it will become normalized. People in the neighborhoods will just get used to seeing the logging trucks coming out of those areas. And by the time we get a chance to reverse this, there may not be the political will to do anything about it. Now, we may not be able to stop it right now, but this is the last chance we have to try for at least the next 3.5 years. Call your senators, write them letters, call your congressmen, call your governors. Make this a priority for them to make sure that at least the natural areas in your state are protected, that your state does not allow for this violation of nature to take place. The federal government's not going to do it for the next 3.5 years. Those people might be able to do it for us. Not entirely, and most of them aren't going to want to do it. You have to make it their absolute nightmare to leave it alone. You have to make them literally get flashbacks like it's Nam when the phone rings because they're worried it's another one of you calling about the goddamn trees and the endangered species that this repeal of this policy is putting in danger. I wish I could leave off on a happier note. I wish I could have made this a fiery call to action. I just can't. This is terrifying. This is one of those things in our government right now that even if we get this asshole out, we impeach him tomorrow, which all of us know is impossible. If we got rid of him tomorrow, the damage done from this policy being repealed, if it's not replaced soon, may literally never be able to be repaired. Like the story that Ancom and I brought you a few weeks back about the seabed harvesting. The dangers there are unknown. The dangers here are very well known, and we are being just as reckless on land as we are being with the seafloor. Unfortunately, I'm Jack with FOFANews, and I really wish I could have left off on a happier note. I really do appreciate you coming.
Hi, I'm Jack, and come back to us next time on FOFANews and follow us on Substack and click the little bell down below. It helps a small channel like us out immensely. Thank you for coming.